All right, we're here for everything under the sun. The topic is what's easy about the astrology business. Okay, Laurel, take it away.
Okay. Um, well, when I originally thought of this, I actually kind of thought of it in a different format of what what is not, and I know this is grammatically incorrect, but like what is not difficult about an astrology career, because it kind of comes from the perspective of me, the asker, that kind of sees it as difficult as a whole. So like trying to kind of delve into like the points that might not be so difficult. And also, when I asked that question, I was feeling a lot of anxiety about my job and thinking about how I'd like to do something that I like, that I love. And so when I think about astrology, I know there's a lot of pathways in, but the parts of it that I don't necessarily want to do that kind of relate to what I'm doing now is like work with directly with people or with clients. I don't really want to do that. And I don't necessarily even feel comfortable like in this type of format, which I'm grateful to be here because it kind of challenges that, um, you know, anxiety that I have about like talking publicly. So just kind of like thinking about what you can make money doing in that world that's more sort of behind the scenes. But that said, I don't need it to be limited to that like thought process. So if you have other questions or ways to lead this discussion, I am open, because that's kind of it for me as
Okay.
far as, yeah.
Does any well, let's ask that question. Is there anything in astrology that you guys can think of that is behind the scenes? Debbie.
You could do research. You could write books.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Do you think
There's
you
also like,
go ahead.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Graham.
there's also like support for like conferences and things. I think there's a lot of ways that you can like be in the astrology community, but not necessarily doing like actively doing readings or being on film.
Yeah. And like the money part of it is one of the like allures. So like what could make still like be somewhat lucrative, or at least scrape by a living. I guess that's kind of a range, but
Well, Bonnie in the chat just suggested writing horoscopes, or the thing that really caught my attention is creating infographics, because as someone new to astrology, infographics would be huge. Like I found a really tightly written set on the difference, an example of like the fixed and mutable and cardinal signs and what that meant. And it was just really quick and digestible. And I've been making infographics for myself off of my conversations with Andy so far.
What is
one
an
from someone who knows what they're
infographic?
doing.
It's like a visual that teaches you something, but it's like a pretty and like easy to understand visual. A graphic of information.
Basically, take something like a chart, which is an infographic, right? Because you've got your symbols and you've got your little lines. The problem with a full chart is it's got too much information on it.
Yeah.
So, but I think, Laurel, part of being easeful in the astrology business would be making enough money to live. Do we all agree on that? Okay.
Well,
That's a tough one.
this brings to kind of like a bigger conversation, though, of like as an artist or as a human, like what do we do that is the age old question of like when you ask kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, I've come to realize that the reason we're asking kids that is because if they can figure out something that they like doing, and in order to be helpful to society and society reward them with these security tickets called money, then you end up spending a lot of your time exchanging your time and energy for money. So if you're gonna do that, you should spend your time doing something that is fills your battery, not drains them. So it seems like that's your calculation, is like, what can I do? Because astrology, I feel the astrology field like energizes me, and I want to spend time doing that, my time and energy. And then how do I also find something that's valuable to society, that society will give me the money tickets in exchange for me spending my time and energy like that?
Yep.
Debbie.
So one of the benefits of being an astrologer is that you don't have to have any inventory or products to sell or anything. You just have to know your stuff and then put it out there in a way that is comfortable for you.
You know, Laurel, I think sometimes working to your chart and your inclinations and then being an astrologer within that helps a lot. Like you're a Gemini, which is the verbal part of being an astrologer, but you have the Saturn conjunct the Mercury. So, like maybe writing reports or like silently writing reports is more your style than actual one-on-one consulting. You know, maybe that could be quiet. It's still engaging with clients and it's still a Gemini thing, but it gives you the time for your Saturn and Gemini to work. I don't know if that would resonate.
You can
Yeah.
also create
Go ahead.
courses.
Sorry.
Like I create workbooks for my clients too, like because I have a Mercury Saturn conjunction, and I like to come up with like ways to integrate your chart and prompts. But I think that there's a lot of people who are astrologers that develop these like self-paced courses or materials that people can pay, or you know what I mean, like that would not require face to face.
I guess my question in a very roundabout way is like, what do you like to spend your time doing?
Well, that's the thing. I'm kind of taking I like to create. I like to use my hands. I like to be able to get into work where I'm kind of able to even like zone out and just not. But I still like I think of myself as a hard worker. I can be very systematic and you know, I can do well at a lot of things. I can absorb data and rules, and like I've worked in all kinds of different fields, including like medical insurance, and I'm and I am an artist, and I've been a house painter, I've been a cake decorator and a pastry chef. I've done a lot of different things, and a lot of that is kind of like physical labor and production style, but it's also very detail oriented. And then there's more of the brain thing and relaying complicated rules to people in a way that they can understand them, or I'm able to break them down. Or so like all of those are skills that I already possess and I know that I'm good at. And I thought that I also really like working with people directly and helping people. And that's not to say that that's not true, but I'm just finding that my like nervous system is shot when I get home, and I just want to do something that's still like giving. I feel good when I am useful that way and help people, but also where it's not so like direct, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a long way to say it, but
Bonnie, do you want to come in the room? I put the link in the chat. We would love to have you in the room. I can always send you the link in emails too. Just let me know if you want to be in this crew, like in the room. Okay, Bonnie. So it sounds like what I'm hearing there is a big thing is that the working with people one-on-one is the stressor for your temperament. Okay, what do we think about editing for like an astrology magazine or like things like that? Is that enough in astrology to be in the wheelhouse of astrologer? Gibber?
I mean, I know people who work as like coders, like, or they code for astrology businesses or apps and things like that. And it's like, you don't have to be into astrology and so I think editing is a skill that it's like, be cool. Would that be cool to be in a non-astrological job, but it's still for an astrological business? Would that satisfy that desire?
Yeah, definitely. I think that is like one idea that I hadn't thought about. It's not a skill that I currently possess, so I would have to, there would be like a huge learning curve, and probably I would have to like,
But that
you know,
expands your options. Like what Andy
yeah,
suggesting, that made me think that it's like really you coming up with like looking at what other types of jobs are connected to these astrologers or these apps that are connected in astrology would kind of help you decide what you're interested in before you start like developing the skills.
totally. Yeah.
Can I ask a question here?
Sure.
Yes.
So, Laurel, my question is going to be, what do you find meaningful or helpful or good about astrology that you want to contribute to specifically?
Well, kind of what you all said too at the beginning about like the infographics, that does resonate with me. I have thought about writing, but like more to like specific audiences, including like young audiences or like very beginner audiences. But in I've thought about even like sort of almost like a graphic novel or like a comic style drawing, learning, like book or something.
So those are
Yeah.
products that sound great.
Go
but
ahead.
like,
Great, yeah.
what do you want to what do you want to share if you're making infographics for a young audience? What is it you want them to know? Is what I'm trying to get at.
I guess I want them to have like an easy, accessible way into learning astrology.
Okay, so it is educational. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's one thing, definitely. Yeah, but
what else is there?
Yeah, and I also I do like research, and so that would be something that I would enjoy. That would go hand in hand. So yeah, but I don't necessarily want this conversation to be all about me either. So like, we can take it so that any audience that's watching can feel like, they're getting something out of it too.
Well, this is a great, learning experience for all of us, but let's ask the question to the working astrologers here. Who thinks being an astrologer is easy?
Well, can I just say I was thinking about this before we started. I don't know if I think doing the techniques of astrology for me feels easy. It feels like the easiest part. The hardest part is like connecting to the client. To me, and some people, I'm sure some people find that like the easiest part, like that's the communication and what have you. But for me, that's like, well, translating, what I'm seeing into like a message that's like helpful and also like supportive and also like the business side of like, okay, actually getting this up and going so it's easy for people to book with me, but also promotion and yada yada, all the business stuff. That part for me is like, that doesn't come easy. The astrology itself is fine. It's the rest of it that's like,
yeah.
Before we move forward, I want to say hi to Trina. Trina's new to us. Trina, do you want to say hi? We can't really hear you very well. Sorry.
Can you hear me better if I lean forward?
No.
Sounds like a whisper.
Ah.
Well, really not sure what to do about this audio situation. I hesitate to ramble too much if you guys can't hear me.
Okay, we can't really hear you very well, but Trina, welcome, and we're so glad you're here. Okay. Okay, so Graham's point is really well taken, that the reading with the client, in his case, is the fun part, and the business side is a challenge. Okay, who else wants to answer the question of, is being an astrologer easy?
Is being an astrologer easy, or is making money at being an astrologer easy?
Yeah.
Debbie.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. um, it's like any artistry. I think, it's along the same lines as someone who's being an artist, and you either put yourself totally like, you wake up in the morning, forget to eat breakfast, you just are 24/7 doing astrology, and that's it. You don't have any pets, you don't have any kids, and you don't have anything else because that's all you're going to be doing. And you travel all over the world. Think about people like Maurice Fernandez and people, they're worldly. Rob Hand. These people have written tons of books. That can't be really simple. I don't think it's like it could be a passion. It could be, but it's not always easy. I don't think, you know. Yeah, when you're one on one with your client, it's an amazing feeling. You have like this relationship, and things are going, you know, and it does affirm that you're in the right place because you're hitting all the lights and everything's good. But it takes a lot of work to get to that point, for one thing. And if you want to go beyond that and really make like tons of money, you have to go to lectures, all the time, and I'm not good at that either, Laurel. That's not my gig either. I'm not real good with that. But, a lot of people do that, or they write lots of books, that's what they do.
Kimber.
I was going to say something similar to Debbie, that I don't think it's easy, but it is rewarding. And I do think it depends on your chart. Like, Andy, I'm just thinking about my chart, and you were talking about my 10th house Cancer Mars, but I get energy from talking to people or teaching. And it's actually, if I don't do that, then it's like, so kind of that martial release, that it made me think of, like, working out is a martial release, but it's not easy, but it's still, so it's like, it's just, I don't see being an astrologer as easy, because you have to learn, you have to know a lot of things. You also, like Graham mentioned, you have to know how to work with different types of clients and meeting them where they are. And it's like, some of it's like in the moment adjustment based off of what this person's ready to receive. And then, like Debbie mentioned, just the people who are really making a lot of money, it's like, you're like basically not home all the time. Like, you have to be out there. And like, I don't know if that's something I want to do. And so right now it's like, I love astrology as like my side part-time job, because I think I can keep it the way I want it to be. But I would love if I could make it full-time, but I know that would require more from me, and like take away from other things that I appreciate and like. And so that's like, I'm not ready for that. But I do think it depends on your chart of whether it would feel rewarding, but I don't know if I would ever say it would be easy for me.
Canary, did you have a
One of
comment?
the,
Sorry.
I mean, only a generic one, that there's a lot of things that are simple but not easy. My go-to example is planking, where I can describe planking very, very easily. And I can get into the position. That's not the hard part. The hard part is continuing to do it. But I don't know enough about astrology as business to do it.
the
Graham.
sense I get is that there's like for people who are extremely successful, like Robert Hand or Maurice Fernandez, it seems like there's also like a team of people behind them that are like helping to produce the books, and there's like a whole mechanism for like setting up lecture tours, and so I don't think it's like, yeah, it is like an active lifestyle, but I don't know that it's quite as like extreme as having to do it all yourself.
But
I think there are support people.
you're paying those people, and then there might, and a few people, I don't know about Maurice Fernandez specifically, but it's like where you have to kind of take a leap of faith, and in order to put in the time needed to do that, you have to maybe leave a stable job to, you know what I mean? It's like you have to have the time to put in that work and effort, or to have the money to be able to pay other people to help you with promoting. So there's a resource situation of like, do we have time? Do we have money? Or like, I don't know, can you do it without one of those two things? That's a question. I feel like that in all industries, like, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a scaling issue. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to speak to this. I think being an astrologer is literally rocket science. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it is the most challenging thing to deal with people, their transits. They want to learn from you. They don't want to come to class. No. There's like a million things that make this like almost rocket science to me, of like how to do this. And then I've written 17 books in astrology. I still have a day job. And but the thing is, I do want to say that astrology is the best second job you could ever ask for. Like, okay, so for example, they say it doesn't matter what your 9 to 5 is, it matters what your 5 to 9 is. Like Jay-Z and I learned that a year ago, and we've been living with that, right? If you want a great 5 to 9, which is something to do like after another workday where you kind of make a steady living, astrology is the best thing ever. I mean, you get to know people closely. You have these extreme friendships. I mean, this crew is like the closest of friends. I mean, I can't think of being happier in life, kind of thing. And though it does require a team, sometimes you need security. Some like there's like a million things that go into being a high tier astrologer. And though I never lie to my students. I'm never like, oh yeah, it's going to be easy and you're going to make it full time. Like, I never say that. I say, have it be your second job. I have a lot of students who are bakers, and then they do like 3 chart readings a week. If you make $125 a reading, that's an extra $375 a week. That's nothing to shake a stick at. That's $1,600 a month. So kind of thing where I think, and I actually have had moments where I was a full-time astrologer. I got flooded with readings and I didn't like it. I was like, I'm suffocating under reading. Like, this is too complicated for me. Like, so I actually like to have my day job and just like chill at work, and then like do a few readings a week and really engage, and then teach some. Like, so I hope that's not a deflating answer.
No, that's an amazing. I think most of us here do agree with that. I know I could agree with that. 5.5 years of intensive studies. I have to tell you, you know what? I feel free. Like, oh, wait a minute. Now what am I going to do? Okay, I can do some research, or I could do charts, or I can maybe write a book, or hang out with you guys. And it's a fun thing to be able to. It's an art form, just like any other artist. You can't push that. You can't push that. You know,
Mhm.
it's gotta come from your heart, your soul. It's got to, and you put it out there, and you love it, and you love the people you're with doing it.
The reason it's like art is because astrology is a luxury item. This is what I've learned over the years. When there's a Great Depression, people don't necessarily go to their astrologer. They go to the grocery store and buy food, right? So it's a lot like art in as much as you can live without it, kind of. I mean, a lot of us here have to watch our transits because our charts are kind of nutso. But you don't need to buy a chart reading. You know what I'm saying? So it's a choice for people to buy it. Okay, what's easy about electional astrology?
Can I get a definition, please?
Uh,
Who
yeah,
wants to get the
well,
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, Graham, you
go
go.
ahead, go ahead, Debbie.
an electional chart is like, if say you have a big event coming up, and you don't know if I have it's got to be a Saturday sometime in June. And so you want to pick the best Saturday in June for that event, and it's going to depend on, if are you the person that is going to be doing this. So you have to kind of align it's a transit chart basically, but it's basically you're choosing a chart that is the best for you for that event.
Yeah, yeah. I would say like picking optimal times.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I don't know. Nothing about electional feels easy to me. It's like I can do the technique, but like actually like making it work in real life and practice, like I'm not a scheduler. I know a lot of people here probably are much better at scheduling their lives and stuff, and for me, it's like I don't know. Elections just kind of like stress me out because it's like, oh, I'm just gonna miss it. It's like, I don't know. It's, um, yeah.
Kimber?
I was just gonna say, I guess it is electional astrology, but when I do fertility astrology work for people, it is, I think, easier than what you and Debbie just described, because it's like giving time frames, and it's like, and also being able to say, like, writing a book and having a baby and getting married look the same as it's creativity, but it's like I can't, there's no, it's like it's more rules, I guess, for what I'm looking for when I'm looking at what are these peak periods. It gets more complicated if I'm working with a couple that's doing IVF, and like we have to also, it's like this peak period works, but you know, we have to think about like an egg retrieval and other things. There's like more variables in place. But I would say like when you have to just narrow it down to a wider range than one specific day, it does feel like it's a little bit easier, if that makes sense. But it's still like the training or like knowing, understand like all the midpoints and all these rules and calculations. There's a lot more math in it for me versus when I'm doing like a one-on-one natal reading, which feels more of an art. This feels very scientific when I'm doing it.
I want to hear all about that. Your fertility astrology practice, like that sounds really cool. I want to know more. I just read a book on it, and yeah, it's like one of those like, oh, that's a whole area that maybe I'm not like the right person to go to for that, but like, but it's cool.
So I think there's a few challenges in electional. So maybe we're not talking about what's easy, but we're going to make it easier by learning something here. One is pricing. Okay, it's like an auto mechanic saying, okay, we have this brake job. Well, how long is it going to take? It's hard to know how long is it going to take to time the thing because it's like, what is the date window? If they say, pick me a wedding and they give you 8 months, it's like you're looking through 8 months of possibility, right? Then you have to have a consultation with them. Well, what's important to you? What means a good wedding to you? So it's like there's the time spent talking to them, and then you got to go back into your ephemeris. So one of the challenges of electional is giving an estimate on pricing that actually makes sense for how much time you're going to have to spend electing. There's also two clocks you're dealing with, the quantitative clock and the qualitative clock, as Judith Hill always called it. And so that's the thing is like, do we go in with the calendar first? Maybe they say there's 4 options in the year. Okay, now we got 4 charts to look at. Okay, that's a lot easier. But if they say, pick me the best time for romance in the whole year, now we've got this whole 10-handed clock that we're looking for thousands of possibilities, right? And then you give them 3 dates. They're like, oh, the place is booked on those dates. Now I'm got to go back, right? So one of the challenges here that you're probably starting to suffocate listening to talk about is pricing this thing, right?
Well, see, that's how you can make a lot of money, because if they want to know what the best time for all the romance is in a whole year, that's going to take a long time to do that, That's funny.
So how can we make that easier for ourselves?
You have to work with the client saying, okay, no, we can't do it for a whole year. Let's break this down. Like what's, when, at least get it down to 1 month, like what month are you talking about here? Because otherwise, an electional is about choosing a particular date and time for an event, as opposed to like, when will my my knight in armor come to me? That's a different kind of thing. That's, so for an electional, you have to pinpoint a particular date and time. Like there's an event that you want to do, and it has to be a particular date and time. You have to be flexible enough to choose at least 1 month. In the exams that we had to do for NCGR, this was crazy. They had us a chart of a person. It was a woman, a chart, and they had 4 different elections within a 2-year period that we had to pick. One being, the last one was the hardest because it was a trip to Australia for 2 weeks during their spring or fall, between their spring and summer. That was tough. Yeah. So, but I didn't have, we don't, that's the exam. But if you have a client, you talk to them, okay, listen, what, let's pinpoint this. You have to work with the client and say, come on, let's pin this down to a particular month or something at least. Makes it a little easier. Particularly if it's something like, they're going on a date, it's not going to be like 3 a.m. I don't think, but it's going to be like a practical time frame within that, if you guys are going for dinner, whatever. So those are those things you look for. You have to pinpoint it based on what they're looking for specifically for that particular election.
Is Bonnie saying that something about an election or something she'll offer in a full price session or
Yeah.
as a component of a membership? So there's no buying an election. Bonnie, I wish you were on camera. We would ask you to elaborate on your process here because this is. I mean, I still. It's like being a contractor, right? You have to look at make an estimate depending on the case in some ways, and then it's hard to estimate sometimes. But anyone else have no problem, Bonnie. Anyone else have a way to make that easier, Graham?
Yeah. Oh, well, just to say, I was thinking while you were describing, I think that's the issue to try to handle in the intake, like before you even speak to the client. If there was some way to like price it on the website where it's like, if you're looking for the optimal time for X, and you have three or four, candidate times, like, I'll charge you X amount, whatever, $100. But if there's like a range, you could price that like, you know, or you might even just say like that's not an option. It's like not to price, not to even offer like an open-ended. I don't know. That feels tricky because every situation is kind of unique. But I
What I
think
read
people would
in
be willing to pay more for like finding an optimal time out of the blue versus like the best of a set of times. I
what
don't
I
know if
Canary.
read
that's
into that was that it'd be like I can sell you an hour, and I will do for you whatever electional work we can get done in an hour. Or you can pay me, say, I don't know what would be reasonable. I'm just going to pull a number from nowhere and be like $6,000 a year. And that's going to guarantee I give you this much work. And then you can ask me for an election. I'll spend some portion of that time doing that for you. So it's either you're committing to help fund me for a while, in which case, yeah, this is a perk you get for membership, or I'm just selling you a unit of time and we get done what we get done, so that you're not committing to a massive job for a little pay.
Yeah, similar cases rectifications where you don't really know, it's hard to price it out because how long is it going to take depends on how many possible rising signs there are. Does someone want to define rectification? Debbie.
Yeah, that was I like doing rectification, but you do have to kind of turn the dial. Um, Again, if you don't know the time of birth at all, you're
Wait,
working with.
what is it first? What is rectification?
Oh, rectification is the person doesn't know what their time of birth is. So they'll know a date. Hopefully, if they don't have a date, forget it. But I mean, if they have a date, but they don't have the time of during that day, you have to work with a 24-hour period to see. And there's different techniques because you have to use the timing. You have to use progressions and solar arcs, and you have to match those angles with their planets in their natal chart and everything else. It's very complicated. So basically, you're trying to find the best, and it's based on certain events in their life. Like I had this one candidate, and he gave me 24 different events in his life that were very, very good because they were all different, and they matched up. So once you match that up, you're able to. It's a whole big complicated thing to do. But they were very pleased with but it takes a lot of work, like weeks of work, constantly working on it.
And yet, Andy was able to talk to me for an hour and a half and be like, "Yeah, there's no way you're you're a Pisces rising. This is an Aquarius."
Oh, well,
But
yeah, that is
you're
true.
between two. It's different when it's like it's like a 2 or 3 hour range. You're narrowing between two risings. But 24 hours, it
was crazy. But you know what? I would, and it's frustrating, and you have to like to do details because you have to keep turning the dial all the time. You're turning their natal chart all around at different times. And I did it in 15-minute increments. So that's how I was working with it. And then whatever.
24-hour rectification?
24-hour, and I was using 15 minutes for each hour. Yeah, to try to get it.
If you want to work with your hands and do something informational in a way that you can charge a lot of money for, making a literal dial that you could turn that would like move everything accurately would be hella work. But also, that's a custom piece of kit you could charge a ton for.
Well, Solar Fire does that for you. You could
Yeah.
do it on Solar Fire. Solar Fire, my program does that.
But I'm
You
a
can do whatever you
gizmo.
want with it. Yeah, yeah, it's great.
So
But I like what Andy's saying. I just feel like you would charge less, like more, if it was a full 24-hour, range versus if it's between two. We know it's between two risings. Like this person's like, I know is born between 6 and 7:30 a.m., but I don't know. Like that feels to protect the time. Like Debbie's saying, you're spending weeks on that. I think like sometimes astrologers can underestimate the prep time depending on whatever they're being asked to do, and that should not, like, there's no way you can make any sort of money or living. You're just losing money by undercharging.
I actually created because how many hits there were. I had to count how many times it hit on an angle for the solar arcs and the progressions and the transits. So whichever one won with that was the timing I was working with, and then I still had to finagle with it and everything until you get it down to the perfect thing.
Grant.
So
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, well, I was just to explain briefly for Canary that like if you're doing a 24-hour rectification, you're literally looking at the whole wheel of the zodiac. Any one of those degrees could be the ascendant degree. So it's yeah, that's a mind boggle. I can't even imagine. With your chart, we were trying to find it within like a 5 minute range, and this is more like it's too much.
I know who to refer people to now, Debbie.
So, Laurel, we hope that you're not weeping inside at the complication of astrology. I thought this was such a good question because I was so like nothing is easy about being an astrologer, but let's make rectification easier. How can we make it easier for ourselves?
having the right program, I think, if you have good programs, they really do help a lot. If you have support, that's one of the other things, like you talk about this a lot too, Andy, is the fact that we're there. We have a community of people together that we all support each other. And I love that. I mean, I have other groups that I work with too, and I've developed such great friendships, and great support. It feels good to be part of that kind of, because if you go out, I lived in North Carolina. If I talk to people like down the street, they're like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So there's something lovely about us as a community, and we talk together, and we talk about this stuff. It's crazy, but we love it, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I have some commentary on how to make it easier. One of the things is we can look at this scientifically, or we can look at it philosophically. Like, is the chart a scientific piece of data, or is it a technical diagram that we can use philosophically, right? And if we try to go for a scientifically accurate birth time or birth chart, we will be horrified that that's impossible. How can we get confirmation of our rectification? So it makes it extremely stressful to say I have to find the correct scientific ascendant degree. That I mean, I've actually done that where I'm like looking at someone's chart. I'm like, that's not your rising. I swear you're born 12 hours later, and I've gotten it right. Like I have a few of those, right? That I could get confirmation. But if we look at it that we're creating a tool for a person to use in their life development that they resonate with and they find useful, then it becomes a co-creation between you and the client of and I use physical body types to find the rising sign all the time, which makes it a lot easier, which is, can you wear your favorite outfit and the colors that you like? Then I'm looking at the coloring of the rising sign, the body shape of the rising sign. I use my astral body types book. We go through all the different types of body. Do you identify with this person? Do you identify with this person? Kind of co-creating with the person to find a chart that they actually feel resonant with. Then once you dial in a few possible rising signs, then you check the sun house and the moon house. Do these fit with your life path and purpose? The scientific method of looking at all these events and solar arcs, I'm terrified at the inaccuracy of that. For me, that makes it so hard that I am like dying inside. But to shape a chart that the person is stoked to have on their wall, and then I draw it by hand once we get one they like, that makes it easier for me. But maybe that's not scientific enough for some people.
Interesting. I would have assumed. Sorry, Grant actually knows who to talk about. Let's have him go first.
Okay. Well, just to say, I love the idea of so there's this book I read a while ago, Jeffrey Cornelius' Moment of Astrology, and he has this whole chapter on the utility of like wrong birth times and like how, well, the way he conceptualizes it is that like, yes, there is probably a correct birth time, but especially for people like so famously like Princess Diana had multiple possible birth times that, and he was able to show that like, okay, in terms of timing certain events, all the two major ones that people used were like actually both extremely accurate for certain things. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, the whole, I don't know that I don't want to. Yeah, I feel like I like the idea of a wrong birth time. I don't know. Is that weird? Uh,
That's cool.
I-
Canary.
So I would have assumed going into the idea, if you had to work backwards, that what you would do is you would start with the placement of the outer planets in the houses, and try to ask the person questions to figure out which houses their outer planets were in, and that would give you a way to rotate the clock around the hands that you felt were in kind of the right place, and that would narrow you down to about an hour, right? But again, I don't actually do this.
Well, that's an interesting approach. I mean, I think, that's as good of any of our approaches in some ways. I like how you're thinking. I mean, I know you're new to astrology, but you have a really great brain. Debbie.
Yes, I think you're right, Canary. I mean, part of it is that is it can it's not just the mathical. Once I did all the math and everything based on his events and everything, that was just all the mathematical part of it. But the magic of it all was when I had the string of planets in the alignment that I had, where I had the most hits. What was amazing about that is, and this is the fun part, is that I discovered his ascendant really resonated with who he was. And that is important. It's not just about, okay, you got all the math down and everything, but that just underscores that astrology works. I mean,
or that it's useful. I think, for example, even if we have a wrong birth time, it can be useful to say every Jupiter transit through a house, I'm going to grow and develop that part of life, right? To grow the 12 themes of life in 12 years is helpful to a person, even if it's not correct. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know, not to say correct or incorrect is not a good thing to look at, but I also think useful is a good thing to look at. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Debbie. I'm just saying yes, and also these things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm agree. It is the whole package. It's not just the math. It's not, and it was a lot of work, but this was required for what I had to do. And so, but doing it was just so. I'm going to tell you something. I failed the first test. I did it wrong, and I didn't have the right. I didn't have the right person to do their chart because they didn't give me enough information. And I was frustrated because I didn't know anybody who didn't know their birth time, and I actually put it out on Facebook. Does anybody want a free rectification? That's what I did, so I could do this. And the person that I picked was just perfect. I mean, it just blended. But it is a lot of work. And then once, based on what I was supposed to do, and this was based a lot of it on Ken Negus's analysis of how to do this, and he was my mentor. He was my hero. He was my he always looked down, helped me out, and he was the one who started teaching, telling me you're going to teach. And so, his spirit's up there, and he helped me during this whole thing, that whole process of doing that rectification. And I think now I could do any kind of rectification. The second one, I actually got honors on that one because I just hit it. It's such a great feeling when you get the right thing. It's just like, I don't know if that's exactly his, but I got it down to the minute.
That's amazing. Tarina, it's really great to have you here, even if you're just getting warmed up to us. Please, you're welcome to come every week, any week. Okay. All right.
I just wanted to circle back to what Graham said, and I just wanted to say that I agree with you that there is something that is somewhat magical about a wrong birth time, and that I kind of agree to the, just in the sense of like I do see astrology. Obviously, there's like a lot of science and exacting behind the techniques and the math, but there's also like a magical serendipity to it, and so in some ways I feel like things kind of happen for a reason and it can just still work. So like if you believe that you're born at a certain time and you have your chart done and you feel like, yeah, I really resonate with this, and then you learn, actually I was born, several hours later, and then that chart works too. Like I don't think that is somehow disproves astrology, or I just think that there's value to both of those charts from like a divinatory.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
connecting is important. But Debbie, I totally take your point. I can imagine finding the exact thing that like actually does line up, and you're like, oh, I actually really found it. Like that would be amazing. That's a really
Oh,
amazing
it was
skill.
like,
That's really cool.
oh my God. It's like, yeah, I just knew I was on the right place with that.
Kimber.
I was just gonna say to Laurel's point that I get what you're saying and I agree, because I love planet first charts. Like when people resonate with those, where you rotate a chart so that a planet that you want to work on is on the ascendant, and then you read the chart based off of that planet being there. And it's really cool. I love doing that with Chiron, but it's like those charts all resonate to me too, but they're not my birth chart. And so there is some, like, I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, this especially when they're the chart that you're that resonates with you, that might not be your birth time, has a certain planet like in the first house. I think that still speaks to the strength of that planet, and that chart can still be powerful. But yes, that then there can still be a rectified chart, and I'm very impressed with rectified charts. But I just think about like other charts that we can use. If anyone wants to talk about planet first charts, I love talking about those. And yeah, we can talk about them another time.
Okay, let's pivot. Great conversation. What's easy about a horary chart? Okay, Graham, you want to give a definition of horary for Canary?
Sure, I'll take it. So horary is using the chart of the moment to answer a question. So it's not necessarily at all tied to the querent's birth time. Although you can use the birth time if that's available, but it's not necessary. So I was with a group last night and I did a horary kind of off the cuff, and it was like, what's lovely about it is that it's so fast. It's like it's difficult in the sense you need a lot of technique and you need a lot of um, ability to weigh up different interpretations on the fly. But like, I don't know, horary for me definitely always feels like the easiest. Like a natal chart, I feel like, okay, I got to approach carefully because this is like a whole person and their whole you got to be sensitive to people. But in a situation, you're talking about, and you still have to be sensitive answering a horary question, but it's different though. It's like you can talk about the different actors involved, and in this case, the person didn't give me very much information. They were saying for reasons they were like, I can't disclose XYZ about this, so I'm just going to vaguely ask this question. And I think I was able to give like still a pretty solid response within like the span of like 10 minutes. Like delineate, okay, here's 8 reasons why this is the particular like course of action that would be the most beneficial to this situation, even though I don't actually know the situation. And for me, that feels like, I don't know, fireworks. Like, it's great.
So did I hear that it's easier because the stakes are lower? Or
No.
is that something else?
Oh no, it's not because the stakes are lower. It's that oh, no, I think it's the application of technique in a
Yeah.
way that's like, it's one technique versus with a natal chart you use a whole host of other techniques that are, yeah. Okay.
I get what
People
you're
would have other opinions.
I have a question. I guess this goes to Debbie and Graham, because I haven't experienced this yet, and I know, I'm sure you can experience it with a reading one-on-one, but with electional astrology and horary astrology, I feel like there could be more buyer's remorse experiences, but it's like you've already done the work. So it's like if someone's not happy with the answer or the product, and then they're upset, but it's like, but you've done the service. And so just like curious if you've run into any of those experiences where like someone's kind of been like, I'm not happy with that answer, and so wanting to like get a refund.
No, I've never had that experience.
I, I
But
do.
kudos to you, Graham. I do not I don't get hurry. I think that's amazing. It's a whole new language. It's a whole different gig.
I want to
It's
experience it.
amazing.
Come up with a good question to like just send you.
Graham.
Yeah. Well, but to answer your question though, yeah, I do occasionally. So with horror, the thing is that unlike a natal, every natal chart is radical in the sense it's rooted in the person. But not every horror chart is. So sometimes like somebody asks a question and it seems like a good question, but there is no symbolism in the chart that will answer it. And in that case, I do give a refund. I think other astrologers might say, no, no, I did the work. I deserve to be paid for the work. For me, I feel like it's not that much of a time commitment for me. So I'm happy to say, hey, if this was like an $80 reading and I can't really give you an answer for various reasons, I'll just refund it. And that might be, I might change my mind about that later. But yeah, I don't, yeah, I don't feel like I can be too precious about like, oh, I need to be paid for unsatisfying uh, outcomes.
What were you gonna say, Canary?
Oh, just that I've had kind of the reverse experience happen to me with tarot where I like using tarot to meet people. Like I'll just go to a coffee shop, put up a sign, do readings for free, just to give people something to talk about. And I had a guy sit down, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't generally get readings done because I don't want to know." Right. And then we have a long conversation about life and what we're doing and how his mother read tarot when he was growing up and how it felt very home for him. And that was awesome. Loved the conversation. At the end of it, he has me do a reading for him. And then we're just talking about life. And he hits me with, yeah, that relationship, I think that's going to cause you about 3 more years of pain. And I'm sitting there like, dude, I didn't want to know that.
Oh,
Wow.
uh, so it's like, yeah, no refunds. But sometimes if you do this stuff in public for fun with people, you'll get hit with stuff you didn't want. And there's no refund because.
yeah. I have a
Kimber.
question for Andy because I feel I'd like you to speak to one more thing that you do with business is the per minute rate. Because I think like because you like with short bursts of astrology support, I'd like you to speak to that.
Hmm. Well, I developed this for people who have, for example, mania charts or bipolar charts, or they have a really hard chart that, and they're trying to learn to track their manias and things, or they're an artist who wants to know about, you know, when they're bursting or popping or things like that. There's a lot of reasons to check in repeatedly, or let's say someone has cyclical migraines and they want to check in with me when they start flaring, and so I can look in the chart and see what's going on. How long is this flare going to go? How can we interrupt the flare? So there's a lot of cases in which a per minute rate is very useful. A lot of astrologers are like, well, when the person wants to come back to me multiple times, I feel like they're too dependent on me and all this kind of stuff. The kind of astrology that we do as remedy people is ongoing. Like remediation is an ongoing process. If you have a personality issue that you're trying to deal with that comes up cyclically, I can't just meet with you for 1 hour and say like, all right, you do this thing, all right, bye. We want to cyclically work on that behavior, if it's violence or, whatever it is that you do. So anyway, so I do this with certain clients, and it has to be negotiated, just like an auto mechanic would negotiate. Okay, you can stop in anytime, and I'll run the code on your car to see. Let's say there's an intermittent problem. You can stop by. I'll run the code. Right. I have to. We have to get to a permission level and have worked together enough that we both understand what's going on and why we're doing the per minute rate. But then, yeah, I think it's like I just parceled out to 225. I think a minute, and yeah, and then I can work it in between other things, and it ends up being a nice win-win.
You really stretched my mind with that, and that it makes a lot of sense to me. And so I just wanted you to like add that to the conversation because it's like another case for astrology and using it a different way. So
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Bonnie says that the way she does that is a membership, and I've actually heard other astrologers do that. I don't know if anyone knows Gary Lorenzen, but he actually would talk about he would have people buy him on a retainer, so they would pay him $60 a month, and he would be available to them whenever they kind of wanted. I, so I think a lot of advanced astrologers end up with this repeatability factor of working with people over time in whatever way works for them, and that's one of my favorite things. You know.
Can I share a funny story? I when I was just starting out, I finished my horary training, but I done a natal chart for my the person who cut my hair. Yeah, she had her own space that was like and she kept asking me like, I want another reading. And at first I was like, I only want to get like maybe like one reading a year. And then, but she kept asking, and I was like, well, okay, I could do like a divination thing. And then it ended up being like I would go see her like every 2 months or so, and every time we would just trade, and I would just, she cut my hair, and I'd give her like an hour long reading that was like transits, but also like whatever question she had like saved up, and it was just like it was a very simpatico like it felt like yeah, I got really good haircuts for basically free.
I have that with my Reiki person, and it's amazing. Like,
Is that
some
great?
like Reiki's are worth a lot. I'm like, okay, yes, but yeah, no, and I do like, and then Andy, the tutoring too. It's like with someone like there's people who are clients that actually want to learn more and like be a student. I know Debbie, you teach, and I don't know. There's just a lot to do.
Yeah, I think one of the things we could, I have a few other things on my list which were teaching as what's easy and hard about the teaching aspect. And that is, and then the other one was the politics of being an astrologer and the cult of personality that it is. Like, it's like you have to be like a real character and like deal with the other characters in astrology. Like, I don't know. Those are my other two thoughts on the thing. But
Those are good.
teaching, what do we want to talk about teaching? Easy or hard?
My question to you guys are, Debbie, I don't know if you teach beginner, intermediate, and advanced, but like, is it different ease or difficulty with the different groups?
Well, no, I teach beginners, beginner two, and then I'm right now I'm doing intermediate. Getting, preparing the content is, the most the biggest challenge. It's like, okay, I know this stuff, but how am I going to put it out there? How am I going to present it on my slides? What's it going to look like? So there's part of a creative kind of thing about that. What do you think so, Andy? That you have to be creative on some level
Well,
on how you
absolutely.
present.
Absolutely. It's called pedagogy and didactics is how do we unwrap the package of the concept. I happen to be a Socratic professor where I do a lot of asking questions and discussion. I'm not a lecturer, and I do that on purpose because I'm interested in people getting the knowledge and learning how to do this. Not when I start lecturing, they fall asleep, they turn their cameras off. So it's like I've arrived at a Socratic style, which some people don't like, some people do, but it's pedagogy and didactics. I do everything on purpose. So I think that's the study of how to teach is those things. And
And you have taught me a lot about that because I was more of a lecture style, but I love doing that now too because it's like we have fun. It's like interacting, having my students interact is it's a wonderful thing, and I get also to understand what levels each one of them are and what their style is too. And I try to encourage them to kind of put it out there what their style is. Not, oh, well, that person did it this way. No, how will you do it? I want to see how you do it. Yeah.
yeah, that's the other challenge about teaching is you're writing a PowerPoint for 9 heads in the room, and you have to consider all of their levels of knowledge at once. And so yeah, you can make a PowerPoint for teaching, but every time I teach the class, it really depends on the 9 heads in the room. You know what I mean? There's Laurel, I hope that you're gonna maybe cry into your pillow at how challenging astrology is. I'm
Oh,
just kidding.
no, I'm familiar with all of the
I'm
various.
not hoping that you cry in
Yeah.
your pillow. I'm hoping that you don't cry in your pillow.
Right, yeah. No, it was mostly just because I had a really bad day that day. Although I'm not loving this Uranus Venus transit right now, I'm still feeling angsty.
Well, I have to say, from a Socratic professor's perspective, the question you asked caused all this discussion, and that it was a beautiful question because it's almost a question that we can't answer, so it caused all these other things, and that was is a beautiful question. Um, so thank you for that. So next week I won't be here. Jay Z's going to be running the room, right? So we want to have someone come up with a topic. 2 weeks from now, I'd like to do the topic autism versus astrology because a lot of us identify as neurodivergent in this room, and so I really want us to look at what does the autism label help us with, and what does the chart layer help us with, and really kind of comparing those two lenses on a human. So I don't know if people would be down for that. So let's someone think of a topic for next week. Let's talk about it in the Discord.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Woo!
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.